Hi friends, this reading is about life purpose, and I'm going to call it an experience, strength, and hope reading. And it's coming from me after I just survived COVID. Message from the other side of COVID. So I'm just going to do this as a collective reading, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to pull a card from the Pride Tarot as an oracle, and another oracle card, and then we'll get into pulling from the tarot. The 6 card spread for you today, and we'll see what happens. All right, what does the Pride Tarot have to offer to begin with? And we'll see what comes up from my... So here we have a King of Cups, the deep emotional leader. That's wonderful. It's a card that of this underwater king with a ship sailing in his mind, so that I can see this connection between your mind and the deep, dark places that you have gone. Certainly, getting as sick as I got, despite being vaccinated, took me to some dark places. And now that I've come out the other side, there have been, there is my heart, there's the depth, there's just the joy of living, really. And this is a part of living a life in which all that I've experienced, all that I've done, even the things that I've been ashamed of, have become useful. And I'm thinking about that this time of year here, because this is a time of year when I celebrate my sobriety, and I will be 14 years sober here in a few days. And I will or will not talk more about that, but coming through the darkness, that's what this seems to be about for me. And then we get another card here of kindred. So we have this very solitary, deep king and this community, this sense of coming out into the sun and coming out together. This very accurately reflects the feeling that I have, having lived through COVID. I cannot even imagine what it felt like for those of you who lived through it without the comfort of having a vaccine to help you and your body fight it. And my heart goes out to friends who I know have the long COVID. And I hoped that this was going to change the world really quickly, and then we'd all feel a lot better going forward, but it's taken us some time here to process this and to let it transform us. And that's been my experience too. So let's see what the tarot wants to tell us. We've got cards on the bottom of the decks here we may or may not want to look at. Lots going on, of course, under the surface, but let's get right into the tarot. And I'm going to pull 3 cards to begin with. What you have experienced, your strength, and your hope. And then we'll look at your personal, your community, and your global purpose here. Okay, we're going to pull these cards here for Haxa. I have felt an extreme sense of isolation. Okay, what you have experienced. We get the Council of Monarchs. This is, in this deck, the card of structural power. It's usually the Emperor in other decks, but because this is a deck of fairies, we get the Council of Monarchs. 4 leaders, each has one of the elements of the tarot: the pentacle, the cup, the sword, and the wand. And collectively, they are the leaders of this fairyland of this deck. So that is what you have experienced. It looks to me like you have gone and you have met the wise guides somehow. And each of them has taught you something. So this, I feel like, is about your teachers here. Let's see. What is your strength? Your strength is a 4 of air. This ability to get away up here on this mountaintop and to heal. That's great. Your hope. This is what the big thing, okay? This is a 9 of water. This is a capacity for contentment, for personal wish fulfillment. It's in the emotional realm. We see this. I like her expression. She's like, this happy little mermaid amongst dragonflies, fruit, starfish. Okay. Oh, bear with me, a story will unfold. Next, we're going to look at where this is coming in the personal realm, your community, and on the global level. And we see this in our sort of oracle cards. We see this very personal, individual journey, but also that there's a collective part of this here, because your teachers and the representatives of your government or your system are coming in, as well as this kind of get alone. We will see what comes up here. This is a new spread for me. It's a little bit of my own invention and a little bit of something I pulled off somebody else's genius. Okay, so your personal is the sun. This is authenticity, absolute happiness, and wish fulfillment. So this is where your personal purpose lies in. And I think that's beautiful to understand that a big part of your job is your own individual happiness, and that you go forth into the world from your having worked on your authenticity and your own happiness. So that's your personal purpose. Lovely. Your community needs you, the world. So this is a big cycle that is coming into completion, and that you are fundamental to this process of completion. Here is what I get it. Sort of like putting your light up amongst the lights of others, like this fairy here. And this is a celebration in the mythical world for Haxa that happens annually. We're coming up on Yule or solstice, Christmas, lots of holidays, Hanukkah. I believe it's a little late for Hanukkah, or starting. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm raised Christian and now pagan. So let's see. And finally, your global purpose, wow, is the earth herself, the Empress. There she is, like pregnant. It looks like spring. All the rabbits signifying fertility. So we see this really major reading of your experience, strength, and hope, and how it's coming into your own personal happiness, and bringing that light to your community, and being a part of what looks like rebirth on a global scale. And I'm seeing here in this image of the Empress all of the irises, and it makes me think of this Louise Gluck poem called Wild Irises. If I could quickly look that up here, because it's a beautiful poem about coming through winter like a bulb, but also it taught me so much about depression. Let's see. Here we go. when the tarot reader just indulges herself and plays music and looks up poetry in the middle of a reading. Why not? Let's see. It's not too long. At the end of my suffering, there was a door. Hear me out. That which you call death, I remember. Overhead, noises, branches of the pine shifting, then nothing. The weak sun flickered over the dry surface. It is terrible to survive as consciousness, buried in the dark earth. Then it was over. That which you fear, being a soul and unable to speak, ending abruptly, the stiff earth bending a little, and what I took to be birds darting in low shrubs. You who do not remember passage from the other world, I tell you I could speak again. Whatever returns from oblivion returns to find a voice. From the center of my life came a great fountain, deep blue shadows on azure sea water. Louise Gluck, the wild iris. So in speaking from the perspective of this wild iris here as a part of your global purpose, and I think here again of this king deep in the water, in the shadow, under the earth, and this little hopeful sailboat floating up from all of that experience, that travel into the darkness. And then you bring your light here to your community. It's actually a pretty straightforward, basic spread here, but let's see what else. I'm really interested in your experience, strength, and hope, and how these are connected to your purpose, which seems very powerful and very clear. See if we can get a little bit more specific. My little wild iris. That poem speaks to how it felt for me going through being sick. There was a day where I felt so absolutely hopeless and alone. It tends to come into me like a failure at life. And that is just so not true. But, we just live in this culture that demands so much of us, and which we can never appease completely from a certain frame of mind. And then it's possible to just notice that that's insane, that like the littlest thing can give you a purpose. And here what we see is bringing light, bringing yourself into the world. And that there is all of this winter, lighting up the winter here. I feel like this is very much making me think of Yule, of Christmas lights, Christmas decorations, and of getting through the darkness together, and of having faith that on the other side of darkness we'll see spring again. But let's look at this experience, strength, and hope. So something that has happened in the recent past, your experience, this Council of Monarchs. It looks to me like some teachers, and they're not, it's true that teachers are not always easy. They can be, it can be a painful lesson that we get sometimes. So teachers in a sense of that we've come through something. We've had either actual human being teachers or experiences that taught us things. So let's see what they are. Let's see what we have here. So first of all, the moon. So this is that you recently went through what we call a moon journey, where you go into your darkness. That's very, very clear here, like some kind of dark night of the soul, like what that iris went through. And the moon journey is no joke. Most people avoid it. It would be something where you looked into your history or history in general, more broadly. So you looked into the darkness, you faced something, and it's worthwhile because you come to know yourself on a deeper level. What else? And there was a sweet little Daughter of Cups. This is an open heart. It's a young heart. It could be a person. It could be a sense of yourself, of finding your heart somewhere after having gone through this darkness. Finding, to me, it goes very much with the sun, where you find that authenticity here. Such an interesting sun card, because it's actually kind of, we've got a forest fire, we've got rain coming to put the fire out, and this fairy of the sun above all of it's very powerful. It's actually a little bit dark. But we could also, instead of seeing a fire, I guess we could see this as, the new day, dawning of light, the way it can come in through the trees and the woods. Very beautiful. So the Daughter of Cups, coming from that authentic heart, represented by the sun, like the way that the sunlight is coming into the woods, lighting up what has been dark. When she has her little rainbow reflection, which really speaks to me of an open heart, open to the many, the variety, and of all of the possibilities. And then there is a Son of Wands here. Something very passionate and inspiring, desire to act, excitement. To me, your experience was that you came from darkness and you found your heart, and then from your heart and from your passion, you are ready to act. And that's what I see here in this experience. So what is that action that you feel ready to take? We've all kind of we've had a dose of isolation, and then we had those couple of weeks this summer when we got vaccinated and we felt free and it was going to go back to normal. And then it didn't, it came back. Delta came in, now Omicron, and we're again dealing with, the limits of our fear of death and the extent of our love of life, and finding that balance between not getting sick, and then but it's terribly lonely to protect yourself from others, for fear of being sick. And I know for me that I chose to risk getting sick in order to be among other humans and to be in my body. And I probably got sick going to Orange Theory. And I say it's just totally worth it. And the fact is, my vaccine kicked the butt of the COVID I got. So that's my experience. I feel that after this, I feel like I went and met with some teachers, and they took me on a moon journey. And the lesson on the outside was, when I came out the other side, was to lift up my eyes and to face fearlessly how scared I am about what's happening in the world, but to face it with others and in the most inspired way that I can. Okay, so your strength is this ability to go alone. This is us in isolation. The Four of Air. This is in your mind. The air is the suit of the mind, and this fairy has gone up on this mountain, and we can see all of the skin shed of these previous beings. They look like lizards who have grown and shed their old skin, and she's just kind of got up here out of the chaos, and just sitting up on top of that mountain, meditating. I like that she's lying in that kind of happy little summer day position, hugging her knees to her chest. So this is your strength. Let's see. What else? Bear with me. Sometimes when I'm doing a reading and I'm in the middle of it, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. But when I go back and listen to it, it does make sense. So I hope that's happening already, but it will make sense. So hang in here with me. Okay, so here is self-harm. I This is one of the yucky cards in this deck. It's a very good image of self-harm. This poor worm who's been cut in half. And I always think about how, an earthworm can regrow when it gets cut. But, and that is what needs to happen. And this happens through a process of healing. So this is one part of it. Then we get the Father of Wands, this inspired king of, or father of the suit of wands, which is much like our Son of Wands, this action-oriented alpha leader. My dog is coming in here, and can you go out from under the desk, honey? Come on. Thank you, sweetheart. I love you. I don't know. And then there is action indeed. Action and communication. So this is talking about your strength and what is going to move you out of this self-harming darkness that can be a tendency of yours and of mine. That the strength is that from your very facing your moon journey that you looked at, my ways that I harm myself, you took this time away in this 4 of air, you went up to your little mountaintop, you lay in bed, you got well, whatever you did. If, for me, it was really uncomfortable to get well, but luckily I was able to still walk my dog because there was this nausea. So from self-harm, this healing, and it is like the kind of healing where you become the leader of your own life. You are the determiner of your own destiny. And this is a very powerful, very physical sense of well-being that comes from this spiritual, but also physically restful practice that you are capable of doing. And from this, once you feel like that alpha king, the King of Wands or the Father of Wands, then you have that spark of energy, that inspiration, that action, or those words that you have to say. You have something to say when you come out of this rest, out of this moon journey. And I see this now replayed twice in your experience, in your strength. So you have learned that in rest and self-care, and in taking that time to know who you are, to become the leader of your own life, that from you comes this lightning bolt of inspiration. It's showing up here in multiple ways as the result of this process. So your hope, what you can bring from having gone through this experience, and that you now have this strength, like you bring hope here. This is a hope of wish fulfillment, of emotional abundance. It's a very, it's an image of spring. I really do feel us coming from winter into spring here, timeline-wise. And so hope is something that you can offer to others by your example. But let's see what else the tarot wants to tell you about that. Okay. There is a 7 of Cups. 7 of Cups is about choices. And the most obvious reading is that you have many emotional options. It can be, though, also a card of fantasy and projection. So let's see what's the narrative here. Then we get a 2 of Wands. This is envisioning. I love this. Again, more wands, more of that willpower, more of that rainbow light here, right? Like we see coming to the Daughter of Cups, like that this diversity, this rainbow, it's very queer for me. It's about justice for me. It's about that we're all very different, and that we all have a right to exist, and that maybe we just really want to be free to live. And I did this little poem called Nostalgia that I put on my channel here and talked about this idea that we do want to just be. And a lot of us are told that we can't be, that we're wrong, there's something wrong with us. A lot of us feel that way. It feels like culturally we're told mostly that we're not good enough and that we should be ashamed. And I feel like that is driving our culture over much. And in some ways, what we've been examining is that we have, what our living has harmed the planet, and it has taken from other beings, and it has been based on a hierarchical, inequitable system. And so I would like to know that, when I drink some coffee, as I am right now, that the coffee was grown in a way that was not harmful, and that the people that grew it were paid for what they grew, and that they're growing it on land that is theirs properly, justly, and that they're growing it in a way that gives to the land as much as it takes. So that's like a consumer bill of rights that I would like. I would like to be able to know that anything I buy is not hurting the world, and I would like to have ways of participating and of being myself, participating in my community, but also being who I am, that I know for a fact aren't damaging and harmful. I feel like there's so much of a burden on our psyches that we're aware that we're participating in structural inequality in all of these ways, and yet we don't yet have a plan or a system that we can feel good about living, and just being. And then this goes into identity too, so that there's people who, like, I'm queer, and my identity gets it's a problem for some people, blah blah blah. But I don't get it. I understand the history of it, and it doesn't really feel like it helps anybody to be mean. I feel like there's a lot of meanness as an option out here. So when I look at this hope, it is this vision of this rainbow world, right? It's a world where we are right with Earth, and we are right with one another. And we haven't made that world yet. We want to live in it. I think most human beings want to live in that. And then we were told that we couldn't, that was immature and childish to want that. And I don't agree with that. So, okay. And thirdly, there is the Ace of Cups. That is the divine love. You fill that cup with whatever kind of love you want, and it is also your gift to bring. There's the sunlight pouring into that cup and pouring out of that cup. So yeah, from the kind of confusion of this, you can see the darkness, you can see that moon journey here again, a place that we've had to look at our illusions, at our projections, so that we can, in an informed way, with the kind of emotional intelligence of this King of Cups, who, he's emotionally intelligent, he's got a kingdom to run, but in order to do that, he's also looked into his own heart, and he can be quite reserved about what's going on in his heart, because he's a listener. The divine masculine ideal for me is a person who can listen and support and encourage, in that way, in that big broad-chested way, in that big-shouldered way. A very kind of loving father model, I guess. So yeah, when you go into that darkness, then you can, not in a naive way, like the Daughter of Cups can be a bit naive. We've got this alpha energy, and we have this inspired wand energy, all this passion, all this embodiment, and that's wands here again. But this is an action that is informed by justice. And then it results in the very gift of the heart. This is divine love. It is true love, soul, connection, you name it. What it is that you want, you put that in that cup, and that's what your hope is. And this is you sitting here full of this insight. From illusion to a vision that is imbued with the heart. Okay, so let's see here. This is the sun. This is your personal purpose. How your purpose as it concerns you. And we're choosing to see the morning light break through the woods here in this image. I've in the past read it as a forest fire. And so maybe that's here too. I definitely feel that as we move from one system to what people are talking about as the new earth, this ideal, this world that we're envisioning, this just world, that we do have to face the havoc that we wreak upon our planet, the fire that we bring. So here we have a 9 of Pentacles. This is you knowing your worth. This is you in your beautiful home. It's a nice little nest. You can see it's got all the pentacles in it. It's a solitary energy, and that's appropriate for this part, which is about your personal purpose. Secondly, here is you manifesting. There's that sun coming out from behind this beautiful jaguar, the magician. The magician has all of the tools and knows how to use them to manifest the world that you want to bring. And that's what this card is about. It's about manifesting. It's about envisioning here. And this is what you do in your beautiful home, your little nest. And again, this is you alone seeking your own inner light. This is the sun inside of you, the hermit. So this is your personal purpose. It's a very lovely, very privileged thing that we should all have, that the sun, our authenticity, our joy begins with this individual sense of our own power and of our own light, and that we can come from there. So then you move with that out into your community. It's winter, the days are short, the night is long, there's snow on the ground here, it's very cold. It's also very beautiful, but I'm a gardener, and so the more and more in tune I get with earth, the more amazed I am at the iris, the wild iris that I read to you about, that everything goes deep down into the earth. You can feel the trees going deep into their center and reserving, waiting for the storm. So winter, a time where we do need the strength that is our ability to go inward, to face this moon journey as we see here, and to know who we are, but in a community sense also to bring our light into the darkness. So we've seen you in your personal journey seeking that light within, manifesting it. There's that sunlight coming out from your magnificent ability as the magician. And what else do we have here with the world? There's the sun again. There's you bringing that happy light into your community. The Empress, this is the same card that we get for our global connection. This is the tree lighting up the darkness. It's a great image for winter. The tree, you can see perhaps she has lost her leaves. It is dark, but she is full of life here still. Some really powerful cards. And then this is a great card for community. You have that vision, and you make it real in the world. So here we are in Flagstaff under the sacred mountain, and the three pentacles here, again, the rainbow color, reminding us to lean towards justice, to build this world together, to bring our light together. And the Empress, that's a very fertile energy that is can be preserving itself through the night, waiting for the spring, for this form that the Empress takes. This is your global purpose. Let's see here. It's a beautiful reading. The Hanged Man, there's some kind of change of perspective. Again, the image of darkness, of gathering, collecting, coming to an understanding in the darkness, in the winter, in the night, on that moon journey. So the Hanged Man, you hang upside down, and from that new perspective, you see things in the way that you never saw them before. So this is key to your global job. The Son of Pentacles, that slowpoke knight. Look how stubborn he is. He just keeps on marching. He has a plan. She, he, they. The Knight of Pentacles, or the Son of Pentacles in this deck, is the responsible and steady one. And so there's a sense here with both the Hanged Man and the Knight of Pentacles that this isn't going to be fast. This is going to take time. It's definitely taking more time than, you're bursting out of, with all of this alpha excitement, this passion, these ideas, this desire to communicate. You're coming out like this. You have your vision, but on a global scale, to realize that vision, it begins, I can see, in your community, and it builds slowly outward towards this new earth. And in the process of going from your individual insight to building with your community, I can see that as you expand in your purpose to the global, that you're going to also learn some things that change you and that will change your plan. And that before you can even initiate that slow, steady Son of Pentacles plan that we see represented here, you're going to learn something more. And there we get the Mother of Wands. She's protecting her eggs. She's the counterpart. We have the Wands couple here on the table. This is you with your Alpha. You're the leader in your life and the hero in your life, and this is your strength. So there's a protectiveness here about the Mother of Wands. She's also the Law of Attraction queen. She's quite sexy. She's quite passionate. And I see, it makes me think about this too, because we have these snakes here, right? So there's all of these skins that are shed here this is your strength, the Four of Air. So we're thinking about the Hangman and the slow path, and how the snake needs to shed her skin and expand. Like, you shed your skin because you're expanding. And when you expand out to bring your heart, your vision, your collaboration, the new things that you're learning as you look into the darkness and find your heart, it causes you to expand and have the capacity through expansion of participating on this global scale in making this beautiful new earth, right? Takes a long time here to 9 months, right? This is an expansion here. And so a part of what I'm seeing on this table is that this is bringing something to a close, the way that winter brings the year to a close, 2021 ending, bringing it to a close, but also bringing in the new year and sending up your light, your hope. I think when we go into hibernation in the winter, or even when you come out of, as I just did, like the kind of dramatic experience of being very sick, that you have this chance to stop, to slow down, to rest, right? You're resting here on your mountaintop in this war of air mode, and to find there in this darkness, in our hibernation, who you are, what your gift is, what your vision is, and to go find other people and to put your light up amongst theirs and to trust that this is all going to come together and that everything is going to bloom again, right? The wild iris will bloom again. How did that poem end here? As I, again, shamelessly take up your time to, let's see. From the center of my life came a great fountain, deep blue, shadows on azure seawater. Deep blue shadows on azure seawater. So this great fountain, this from the center of my life, that's this Ace of Cups. This is the hope. This is the gift. So this is a process of going into hibernation, going into your moon journey, finding your mojo, finding your heart, and expanding out, shedding that too tight skin and moving into this rainbow vision of spring, of blooming up from the dead earth, like all of this fertility and abundance on a global scale, not just for you. You're going to take your gifts, bring them to your community, and with your community, bring these out forward into the world with your kindred under the sun, in that ideal tarot card of absolute happiness. So I hope this has been a useful message for you, and it feels very clear to me, even though my words are not coming as quickly as I like them to come. I thank you for listening, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and that you're feeling good today, and that you know that if you don't feel good today, that there's going to be something to get out of that discomfort that is, for me, post-COVID, real gratitude for my health, for my community, and for the gifts that I might be able to bring to this big collaboration that we really need to get involved in here in the coming months, in spring, in 2022, I hope. All right, have a beautiful day.